Hi everyone, let's talk about Dragonfire. And it's still early days really, but I love this game. I've played it more than, in general for a first impression video. I've played this about 12 times now, I think. Maybe a little bit more than that because I'm playing a campaign with Rach and I've got a character there that's on the go, and then when I play it on my own I've got two different characters that I play with, and then I just started these fresh ones for this. I probably won't use them again, but at least not for a while. But yeah, I've played this quite a bit already and I'm loving it. Just the basic game, so it's based on Shadowrun Crossfire and it's got a lot of similarities. It has got quite a few of its own things, of its improvements, of its tweaks, but it is the Crossfire system of this, which I really like. I love Shadowrun Crossfire. I am terrible at it. After so many plays, I'm still my win rate is absolutely abysmal. But I love the system of it. I love this deck builder that I have seen a little bit more of. I've seen a couple of games like it now where you are not necessarily trying to build an engine with your deck. You are not, Dominion style thinking, oh, this would be good with this, and then later on, as I am, drawing through my deck again and again, hopefully these are going to come together and I've got a really good engine going. You are not drawing cards very often in this at all. At the most, really, usually, you're drawing 2 cards at the end of every turn if you have played enough cards, which usually you have, and then anything else is what you've bought. And so everything is really situational because you have to look at, which enemies are out, who are they facing, who can take the damage, who can't take it, which cards will help us right now, which cards will give me an assist so that I can help you in your turn and we can kill this thing outright and end the scene and bury the Dragonfire card, and then the next scene isn't going to be as hard because the Dragonfire level won't have gone up. There are so many things that go into your decision of not only what to play, what to do with the enemies, if you can use grapple or something like that to make them face someone else, the order that you go in, you decide at the start, what to buy from the market. It's not just there's the ultimate martial card, the 10 cost card has come out. I'm going to save up for that. Well, you're probably wasting your time. You could probably have bought 3 or 4 cards instead that would have helped you right now, rather than your dream of having the ultimate deck full of martial cards, and which I generally have. I still have that dream. I've never tried to do it because so many other cards are too useful. But it would be great to have a ton of cards with loads and loads of swords and be drawing loads more cards. But it hasn't worked out that way at the moment. I've seen a lot over the last couple of years when I see threads about Shadowrun Crossfire. I did see criticisms that it was too swingy and too random. People point to that especially in a game with fewer players, and I don't really. Definitely, it can have a swingy nature to it based on, if you draw a Dragonfire card that comes out and it's all the greens get 1 harder and you happen to have drawn all greens, then yeah, it's going to affect you more than one that, makes all of the black ones stronger and there aren't any out. So yeah, it's got random elements to it. The enemies that can come out, the Dragonfire cards, even the order of the market cards can make a difference. Like, we've played a particular scenario where Flaming Oil is, I don't want to say essential, but it makes your life incredibly easier by having a flaming oil or two. And if that doesn't come out, there are certainly going to be other ways around it, but it can make it harder just in the order that these things come out. But I always, ever since Rado, it's thanks to Rado that I picked up Shadowrun Crossfire in the first place and have been tracking all of this Dragonfire stuff. But in addition to doing a playthrough for it, Rado did a playthrough for a thread that was on Board Game Geek a couple of years ago from one of the designers of Shadowrun Crossfire, where he basically played a 2-player game and would post things on the forums of Board Game Geek of, here is the situation, what would you do? He got responses from everyone, and then he'd be like, okay, that's very good, here's what I'm going to do. And he would kind of go into the decisions you would take of, he would be processing all of those things of, yeah, it seems like we could just kill this thing outright, but actually this person is in more danger, so I'm going to buy this card and I'm going to do this damage to it. You can still check that out. Rado did videos of what his final answers were, and you can go and see the thread linked in his videos as well. But ever since that, and the designer said that at 2 players his win rate was 80%, and I don't. We have had random times where sometimes it just feels like there's nothing we can do and we are just, in that spiraling situation. But most of the time, it has felt like you know, we can kind of step back a few turns and see that, oh yeah, this wasn't the threat at all. This was the thing we needed to deal with. We weren't anticipating that. Maybe, you know, sometimes it was the Dragonfire card that made that one more of a threat, and in that case we couldn't have known that was going to happen. But a lot of the time it's just, oh, we didn't realize that, you know, we should have known this character's got no health and hasn't got the cards to deal with it, and so we all needed to focus on this card rather than these cards. It feels, most of the time to me anyway, and you know, it could just be, you know, wishful thinking because I saw all of that information from the designers. It does seem to me that it is down to your decisions. It is down to this this puzzle that is a lot of the time very, very difficult. You can try and work it out, and you know, sometimes cards that aren't attractive to you at all, it might be the only card out there that's got an assist ability, and if you get an assist ability, maybe you can make that difference in the next player's turn. And as I said, this game is like in Crossfire, it's about trying to do things as quickly as possible as well, because in a two-player game especially, you start with that lower Dragonfire level, so you aren't drawing any Dragonfire cards while you can, you know, keep the pace going. If you can end the rounds as quickly as possible, if you can end those scenes, then you are getting fewer Dragonfire cards, which means fewer negative effects, which get harder the higher your Dragonfire level is. And also, there are tons of enemies, like some came out earlier on in that, like the tokens on the skeletons would have been way worse had the Dragonfire level been high enough. So, you know, it's all about trying to do it as quickly as possible. You know, the difficulty is, you know, it's a thing that Crossfire was well known for, and they had mentioned that they've made it easier in Dragonfire. And I'll say that I've only tried the dungeon crawl, I think, at level 1. I don't think I've come back to it yet, ramping it up a bit for level 2. And as I mentioned in the playthrough a little bit, it's got a load of rules in the back for this is how you adjust the game for 2 and 3 players. This is how you adjust the game for if you are a higher level. This is adventure level 1, the dungeon crawl. If you're higher level, these are the tweaks you make to make it level 2 now. And now it's going to be harder, and you can replay these things again. It's got all of that in there. And I would say that the dungeon crawl has been quite easy. We've never really gotten to the point where it was like make or break. It has had difficult times, and we've enjoyed, you know, working out the puzzle of how to actually get through it. But it's never got to the point where, you know, oh no, this is completely over. I'd say, on the other hand, though, the first scenario of the adventure that comes with it, because this comes with an adventure. It comes with a little campaign. It comes with this little booklet that has 5 specific scenarios assigned to it, and you read through this story. An Ancient Evil Arises is the name of the campaign. You read through your story, and then you go and find scenario 1 for it, and you play through that. Scenario 1 for that, it doesn't make that many changes to the dungeon crawl, but we found it so difficult. And it took, how many times? I want to say 5 times, I think, for me to try it, and I finally found a way to get through it. And then when we came back to our 2-player session of it, we finally got through it and could get to the later scenarios. I think we've done 3 of them now, or we're on the 3rd one. But this is another thing. This is a thing that's completely unique to Dragonfire, and I am so happy with it. It's an exciting thing anyway, whenever anything like this is in a game and it's adding story to it and it's adding maybe choices or it's changing up the scenarios. You know, I will say for the scenarios that we've played so far, they are completely tied to the story, and I've had a peek at the next one, and it's just so good. The things that are happening in these adventures are, you know, what the story has led you to, and it really just adds a lot to it. Even the Dragonfire cards as well have all got these bits of text on them now. You know, they all do add these little extra touches that, you know, if you don't like the game system, they're not going to make any difference to you whatsoever. But if you do, you know, enjoy the game anyway, it's just a whole nother layer and a whole nother experience that is just fantastic, I think. And I've seen they've announced loads of expansions for it. Is it 5 expansions are going to come out very quickly for it? But they're all kind of different things. Like one would just be, if you saw the playthrough at the end, I showed you a few of the shiny item cards. One will just be those magic item cards. One will just be some new market cards. One will just be character screens. One said campaign expansion. So more of this. I want all of it. I have talked in videos like Arkham Horror, the card game, I talked about being kind of glad that I didn't really like it because it's an endless. If you enjoy it, fantastic, but it's going to cost a lot of money to keep experiencing it. On the plus side, there's going to be loads of new content. On the downside, it's a lot of cost to go into one game. I can just see my money disappearing with Dragonfire because I haven't even seen everything that's in the base box yet, because how could you so quickly? But I've only seen a little bit of it. But just like Crossfire, I'm completely completely absorbed by not only the puzzle of the game, but also the permanence aspect, the campaign nature of it, where even without this story-based stuff, you are earning XP. Whether you win or lose, you are earning something, and we are then using that XP to add stickers to our characters and give us permanent abilities, which we have chosen, which, again, it's at the end of the playthrough. I showed you a few of the things that are in these stickers. Some of them are tied to the characters as well. If I am a martial character, but I'm also a fighter, I've got a set of stickers, and I've got some choices there that only I can make because I am this character. Unless there's another one that's playing that, of course, which there might be, because this goes up to 6 players as well. I have only played it solo, which isn't really solo. It's 2 play. I was playing it with 2 characters, which is 2 players. I played it 2 players and 3 players, which both of those need some tweaks that, again, I mentioned in the playthrough. It handles it really well, I think. And it supports up to 6, so you will have some duplicates in the characters then, which will make a difference. And I can't imagine that. I bet it's really good, but that seems crazy that there's going to be 6 of us. There's going to be so many enemies out there, so many permutations, but also so many things that you can do as players. That's just purely hypothetical, because I don't think I'm going to try it at 6 players, but it's good that it's got the option there for people. As well, I only briefly mentioned those magic items, but they are a really nice new thing as well. It's a shame that you only get them the first time that you do an adventure, because especially at the low levels, they are very, not necessarily really weak things, but they are one-use things. They are just, a potion that will be there in a game and gone, and otherwise you've got to keep it in your deck and it's going to take up space, and you're already not drawing many cards, so you want to get rid of it really and get it used at the most effective time. But having said that, I am at a low level still, and I have not gotten to the point where I'm drawing anything other than common items. I have taken a little peek at some of the items that are coming, and I'm really excited about what they could do, because that's a whole other thing as well. And I can't really remember if it's been a little while since I played Crossfire. But the tokens as well, the idea of the tokens, maybe they were introduced in the expansion to Crossfire, but I don't think they were. I can't remember. Either way, the tokens being on enemies, that is really, really good for, it's not just, a card that says swarming skeletons and we're getting rid of it. It's actually, a load of tokens representing all of these skeletons that are advancing on us, and we can't get to the head honcho skeleton until we've taken out his minions, and they have got their own little stats on the card, and it's very simple to do and a really effective little thing. All of these little tweaks, I think, have made it better and better. The Dungeons & Dragons theme, it does appeal to me more than the Shadowrun Crossfire one. It's just, I suppose, a more familiar thing. I haven't really played Dungeons & Dragons myself, but the world is quite familiar, isn't it? And a lot of board games will be familiar when they mention things like Waterdeep. But yeah, I like the world more. I like everything that it's introduced to it, and it doesn't really feel like I've lost anything from Crossfire. I think the only kind of concerns I'd seen before it came out was, has it been made too easy? And in my experience so far, which again is only 12 or so games, it has not been made an easy game at all. It is still, there's one scenario that I played about 6 times, I think I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, it's still got its teeth, and it's still going to be a challenge and a real puzzle to try and get through. But I think it's just improved on so many aspects of Crossfire, which I already loved, and so far in my experience, I haven't noticed anything, that I feel is missing from that experience either. So I suppose it could change with more play, and I imagine that it's just going to get better though. Just thinking into the future, if it just gets more content, and they've said that Crossfire isn't over, that's going to get some more content. So I wouldn't say I would get rid of Crossfire. I'd look forward to see what's coming for it, but I'm leaning towards that. This just completely replaces it, because you know, I want to see more of this story, and when the expansions come out, I want to, you know, get straight into that new story. I want to keep these characters going, as I did with Crossfire as well. It was that thing of, you know, I could play this cooperative game, but if we get Crossfire out again, then we could advance our characters, and maybe we're close to a new sticker and all that. You know, it's just really fantastic game. I will say that it will depend on, you know, maybe your love for the game or maybe your tolerance for punishment sometimes, because Rachel does like, she liked Crossfire and she likes Dragonfire, but there were times, especially in that scenario that we had to play a lot of times, where it did just wear on her patience and she did not want to do the scenario again. Eventually we did and we won it and it was fantastic, but yeah, it maybe sometimes gets a bit too wearing for her. But that is the difficulty thing. I think anyway, that is the Crossfire, you know, really impossible sometimes nature of it coming through again. But I think I'm about to just repeat everything I said all over again. But I could go on about this. I have really loved my time with it. Cannot wait to play it more and see all of the extra content. Yeah, if you didn't like Crossfire at all, then I say this with expansions and things all the time. If you didn't like Crossfire at all, then there are a ton of similarities with this. But if your problem with Crossfire was that there wasn't enough story in it, then it solved that. If you needed shinier cards, then it solved that. But yeah, I'd maybe if you were okay on Crossfire, maybe you'll like this. If you didn't like the system at all, I can't see that this would make any difference. But for me, it's taken something that I loved and improved even more on it, and promised a ridiculous amount of content into the future. So that's another thing. If you get this game and like it, then you are set for hopefully quite a while in the future, because, you know, hopefully with the Dungeons and Dragons name attached to it as well, it's going to get more attention than Crossfire got, because Crossfire did sell out quite a lot, I think, but I'm not sure that it ever got to a really popular stage. Hopefully Dragonfire can do that, which will then promise more and more stuff for, you know, all of the people that love it like me. But I think I'm going to stop talking there. Dragonfire, I love it. Watch the playthrough and see if you would like to try it. Bye everyone.